Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramona, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast.
One. Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I am so thrilled to have you join us today. We dedicated this podcast exploring the idea of doing work in life with a servant's heart, which will allow you to approach that work in life with the ability to impact and change people's lives. Imagine being able to do that every day. I've got the pleasure and opportunity to do that thanks to my good old Lord. It allows me to do, and you could do the same thing. We also developed this podcast so our guests can motivate you, inspire you, and educate you to also make an impact in your world. Borrow people's resources, borrow people's mentorship. That's what they put it out there for, so you can help others. And here's your call to action today. Think about how you're going to serve yourself and serve others today and what impact you want to create today. And today's a key word. We always wait. We're like, hey, we're going to do our email in an hour and 2 days go by, or whatever that may be. But with this servant thing, it's definitely not only a revenue generator, but you know what? It's a universe generator. It's going to talk back to you and go, I love you. I'm going to send you some great things. And today's episode is sponsored by our Pantheon Alliance. Join a community of high-income entrepreneurs and business leaders to create a world-changing thought leader platform to help grow your business. For more information, please reach out, and I'll get you all the information on that. Education, athletics, put them together and what? You get a college athlete that's probably getting an NIL deal, making millions. Are they really getting educated? Nothing against the program. I'm not saying anything yet, but that's the atmosphere. That's the culture. That's what sports and education is about. So we're going to talk about today with my incredible guest, Brian E. Arnold. Because I say the E because we don't want you to be the Ninja Turtle, I think, or Ninja Fighter.
The Ninja Warrior guy, yeah.
Ninja Warrior.
The other Brian Arnold on this planet that took over my name. He's younger than me too, so his parents must have known or something.
Yeah, exactly. They saw you somewhere. Well, yeah. Talk about your education path, especially early, how the challenges you had.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show. Thank you for allowing me to talk about my favorite subject, which is how do I serve people? And just from what you said, that someday isn't on my calendar, right? Today is on my calendar, but someday is not on my calendar. And yeah, when I think about, was I going to be able to finish education? Was I going to be able to do the things that I wanted to do? I wanted to be, I guess, a student in elementary and high school. They put me in special ed classes. I didn't think I was a special ed, but they told me I was. And so I wasn't able to participate in a lot of some of the things that other kids were doing. I just happened to be a pretty good athlete. So I was, when I got to go out of the trailer where we were at, I got to go do the fun stuff, which was athletics. And then ultimately ended up going to Azusa Pacific University on a track scholarship. And I wasn't even going to do that because I figured, I'm not going to take ACT. I'm not going to take a SAT. I'm not going to take any of these because I don't read well. I don't spell well. It's not because lack of trying. My parents had me in special things all the time. At the time, it wasn't called dyslexia. Later on, I got tested. It is dyslexia. But, I found ways, whether there were coaches or other people who served me in ways at churches and pastors and community around me that allowed me to thrive despite what everybody else was telling me that I couldn't do. And so, I got my bachelor's degree in communications and PE, and became a teacher, and then went back, and computers, technology, I would say was the equalizer. Because once the Apple IIe and spell checks came out, and the ability to I guess, just communicate without having to write it on a piece of paper. right? So I got my master's in educational technology and thrived there. And they told me I need to go back when I was a professor. Hey, you need to go back and get your doctorate. Well, I started that. That was a little bit hard back in the early 2000s. So I had to wait for technology to catch up. And then I did. And then you have like Google Voice, right? I can actually talk to this computer and it will actually write what I said, and it will spell everything right, and it will grammatically put it the way that it should have been instead of the way it comes out of my mouth is pretty good. It's just not how my typing shows up.
Yeah.
So I was able to get my doctorate. And then, I was able to even write some books where somebody told me, you're not ever going to be able to do anything. So I know I can write because I wrote a dissertation. I wrote a book called There Is No Tiger, which is about overthinking and anxiety. And I literally spoke the entire book into a microphone. And then I had some amazing editors help me get it all put together. And then I just finished my second book, which is called The Decision Formula. And that'll be coming out here in the next next month, I guess. So I don't know if I'm going to write more, if I'm going to do more, but I don't feel like education's an issue anymore.
Yeah, it's not, and that's interesting. I say more than interesting obstacle of being dyslexic, or there's a number of different obstacles people have. What do you think the one thing, I know there's many, but one thing that you learned through all that helps somebody listening that might be dyslexic or autistic or challenging at school?
Well, here's what I would say. And the God that I serve has given us all a purpose and given us a reason for being on the planet. And if he made me dyslexic for whatever reason, then that wasn't the path I was supposed to go down. I was never supposed to be an editor of a whole bunch of text. I was never supposed to be an English professor. But because of that, this deficiency that I had, I became a pretty good in communication auditorily. I became pretty good at being, putting myself into perseverance and being an athlete and doing the things that I could do to still serve, but not in a way that, typical schools back in the 70s and 80s decided that we had to do, right? Oh, go to school, get a good education, get a good job, and you'll be happy. Well, the good education is what for most people, and for those who are saying, hey, maybe school's not my pathway, or vocation is my pathway, or I'm good at this. That's what you need to pursue. That's what you need to work on, not trying to fit into that round peg hole that society has told you that you need to be in, because you have a purpose, and when you get to live in that purpose, oh my gosh, life is good.
Yeah, and you're not going to find that early in your life. You're going to go through many obstacles, many different dissertations and things to find that. Talk about the bridge between sports and business, because I love that bridge, and I know you've done that yourself.
Well, I can say when you think of your circle and your associations and who you become, it's all about the people who can move you forward. And sometimes, we hear this a lot. I don't know if you've heard, but if you're the smartest person in the room that you're in, you're probably in the wrong room. And so when you start thinking about who are my associations, and what athletics did for me was it gave me those associations with people that were achieving, that people that were succeeding, that people were making a difference in their own lives based on a talent or whatever that they had. And so you learn a whole bunch of stuff. When I first went to college, and I'm scared, and I'm doing well in high school, and I'm probably in the state of Colorado, I'm one of the best athletes, right? And I walk on a track team in California that has 7 Olympians on it. It has medalists on it. It has people, I get to run against the best in the world being around UCLA and USC. And I realized I wasn't as good an athlete as the rest of the people were. But to be able to take them now and apply those skills that I learned, working out in every single day, defining a goal, defining something that I need to do, and then being able to reach that goal. But then having those associations and people that are by your side that are helping you be able to get there. That more than anything, I would say that's what I learned is how do I deal with people that can help me achieve whatever it is I want to achieve. And I need a coach. If you don't have a coach and you're trying to make it in business in some way, it's going to be hard, because there's somebody who's done it before you that knows how to do it if you ask them. And here's what I've learned about is success, not only just successful coaches, but successful business leaders love to talk about what they did and how they did it. And if you find a way to ask them, now some rooms you're not supposed to be in yet, right? I'm probably not supposed to be in a room with Elon Musk right now because I'm not the person I need to be in order to be able to take advantage of anything he says. One is like incredibly smart, but I probably would have no idea what he's talking about most of the time. But the other part is I haven't made $1 billion yet. For me to jump from where I'm at now to jump to where he's at, that's the wrong room for me. But there's a whole bunch of steps on the way that I know. And here's what I also know about coaches. Some people say, well, your coach needs, whether it's business or in athletics, your coach needs to be able to have done it before. And then I look at some of the athletic teams and stuff. I think of like the Patriots, right? The dynasty of football over the last how many years. Did Bill Belichick play football? If he did, he didn't play in the NFL. And he didn't. And he's one of the best, you can determine whether that's your team you like or not. But his record shows that he's an incredible coach and he's been able to win a ton of many games. But he knows how to get people motivated to do the thing that they need to do. And that's what a good coach does. Every coach that doesn't have to have done it. Now, experience helps. But all I'm saying is I realize that I'm not always looking for the coach, because if Michael Jordan's coaching me, I'm probably not going to be a very good basketball player. The reason I say that is because he was an amazing, probably the best basketball player that ever lived, but he can't teach that talent. He can't teach what he did on the court, and he can't coach that either because he can only see from one spot, right? He can't see and move you up. And I'm not saying, he would tell you, if you watch stuff that he said, that he's not the best coach in the world. Now, business-wise, I'd love to hang out with Jordan for a little bit. That's amazing.
Just from his connections. And it's interesting you said about being the smartest person in the room, and you're right. You won't grow or scale with that. But here's the addendum I add. I want people to understand or hear this is when you're the smartest person in the room, serve like crazy.
Amen.
I do it all the time. And I know you do it because I've studied you. And that's what I love about you is when you're the smartest guy in the room, and what Brian's saying is that's not where you go to, but if you end up being there, there's a role to play. And that's a role you play. Talk about your mentorship, your mentors, and how you mentor, I call it up and above. People you're going to, people mentor you below, above you that are done more like Elon Musk. And then the people like our audience that's just starting a business that you can mentor.
Here's what I'd say. So there's different categories of your life. And I would say there's no one person that can mentor you in all those categories. Unless it's Jesus or God or, and he comes down and does it for you, right? But he puts people in your life that will allow them to feed into you in order for you to be able to grow in whatever particular area. So I learned early on in my career, if I needed somebody, with my special ed stuff, right? I needed the learning center, people in the learning center to help me get through college and get through mind mapping and stuff. I had a coach that helped with me in my mental progress. In business, I have somebody that when I started in sales, I had a sales coach and a sales mentor that helped me. And then so what I try to do, as I'm thinking about those guys that I can go back to 4 or 5 people that have mentored me. A spiritual mentor was my pastor. When I think of people and the goal of like my business and my coaching and stuff that I do with people is I want to help people become the person that they need to be in order to do the thing they believe that God put them on this earth to do. Yeah. And for a lot of people, they want to jump right to I'm doing the thing, and they want to get into the the mechanics of the issue and stuff. But if they're not the person, it doesn't matter how much knowledge they have about it. If they haven't walked to be able to get to that place, because you think of like the Tony Robbins of the world, or the Les Browns of the world, or the the Wayne Dryers of the world that are incredible speakers, and you go there and you get motivated, and you're like, yeah, I can't wait to do it. Then you come home and do what? Because they talk from stage, right? And you took all these notes on your piece of paper and you go, okay, now what is it that I actually get to do? And I realized by going to hall, those guys are amazing, but I wasn't able to take advantage of that until I was ready to show up in that room, in that seat, with different habits, with different disciplines that allow me to be able to move forward. And so, when he says, when I'm mentoring somebody, first thing I look at is, what's the journey you want to go on? Let's make sure you're in the right journey. And the next thing is the disciplines. Do you have those disciplines? If I want to be a world-class swimmer, but I only want to go to the pool 3 times a week. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm not going to be able to make it happen. And so until I become the person who can swim 7 days a week and then swim well, then I'm not going to be able to be that person that's going to be able to do that. And so that's what I'm looking for whenever, all the athletes that I've coached, some several Olympians and some state champions at the high school level. And, in business, I've been able to help people reach, 6-figure incomes and that kind of stuff. As I look at and say, okay, where are you at right now? Let's move you incrementally. What habits do we need to develop? What disciplines do we need to develop? What mindset do we need to develop first? I want you to go to Tony Robbins. I just don't want you to go to him right now. Because when you go right now, you're going to try to do everything. And then as soon as you try to do everything, if you're not that guy yet, then you're going to be more discouraged than anybody because you're going to come home excited and it's not going to work. And he does a great job. I mean, there's no way I can ever say he doesn't. But I know so many people who have been to Tony Robbins and weren't ready yet. And then, there we go.
Nothing happened. Yeah. Talk about your secret sauce, because you got the book on decision. I think indecision is destroying the United States, destroying the world, recession, all that stuff, because we're so fearful, especially coming out of COVID and recession and elections and all things happen. What is your secret sauce? If somebody go, I got to make a decision.
Gotcha. I love that question too, because there's so many factors that go into it that can be solved so quickly, so early. One is you're not going to be 100% certain on any decision that you're going to make. And if you're trying to be, you're just going to hold yourself back to be able to do it. So we figure out what that thing is. And if you can get to 51, 52% certainty that this is going to work, it's worth going to. There's reversible decisions and irreversible decisions. And I would say 99% of the decisions that we try to make are reversible. If they're going to amputate your leg, it's not growing back. That's an irreversible decision. You need to spend a whole bunch of time making sure that that's what needs to happen. I mean, unless you're in war and they're going to cut it off anyway, or you got some kind of diabetes, and for you to live, then it's an easy decision. But there's some things. But the irreversible decisions is the one that we ruminate on. There's where we look at those irreversible decisions like. It doesn't matter what it is. You go, okay, so if I move to another part of the country to part of a career and it doesn't work out, okay, move back, right? If I get into a relationship and I say, okay, I want to go forward, we want to move forward, we're going to keep going, and then you find out that she's Count Draculus or whatever, then you go, okay, let me reverse that decision. Even decisions I made with some of my decisions, I have 8 children, and I made some poor decisions with my kids, but at least they were decisions and we move forward, right? Because they're reversible. There's hardly anything you can do, especially in business, especially as you're moving forward in this. Everything you're probably doing, hey, I want to start a podcast. Great, start a podcast. If you suck at it, which you're going to do in the beginning, no matter what you try to do anyways, but you go, okay, I'm going to do 100 episodes. You do 100 episodes and then you don't like it anymore, do something else. It's irreversible, but at least you learn through the process of getting it done. And that's so many people that are doing that. And when I think about like our anxiety and our fear, true fear, I'm afraid to speak. I'm afraid of speaking. Well, you're not really afraid of speaking because it's, fear is a present danger that can hurt you right now. Everything else is anxiety about what could happen in the future. And that's where the overthinking comes in, because you're afraid of what's going to happen in the future, and you don't know what's going to happen in the future. So you got to curve, when you're thinking about your decisions you're going to make, you can't spend all day long thinking, okay, what if I do this, then my kid's not going to get fed, and they're not going to get fed today, then they're going to hate me tomorrow, and then they're going to marry the wrong person because they're going to marry somebody that's just like me. And then, and you go down these roads, and we all do, these movies that we play in our mind that are all negative. When's the last time you said, my wife is going to love me so much, it's going to be the greatest thing ever. And then you overthink that, right? She's going to love me so much, I don't know if I'm going to be able to take it. You think, well, my wife is going to, if I don't do what I'm going to do, then she's going to find somebody else, and then somebody else is going to treat her better. And then, I'm going to be all alone. And then for the rest of that, that's the road we go down. And so there's things that we can do, in that process. So when I think of the secret sauce is literally make the decisions. There's a cost, so you got to weigh the cost. And in my 5-step book, I talk about the cost. And, if it's a journey, you're going to hate. right? I don't like water, but I think I'm going to make a decision to be a I'm going to, a sailboat, performer, or whatever it is, right? I'm going to sail around the world in my sailboat. That's my
There you
decision.
go.
I hate water. No, that's a dumb decision. The cost is too great. Or, a lot of them is, I'm going to move away from my kids, because I need to pursue this and I'm going to be gone for 10 years. To me, that's not a servant's heart at all. That is, I am deciding that I am more important than these people that I brought into the world. So now that decision, that cost is too great. You need to say, I need to wait until they get out of high school, they get out of grade school, they get out of whatever it is. Because the people who are, and I'll finish with this secret sauce, the people who are the most successful in life have figured out how to serve others. Point blank. I just did 100 episodes of Black Men over the last year in 2024. It's called The Journey to Freedom is the name of my podcast. And we just interviewed 100 Black men. And I would say every one of those successful Black men who's been successful in life has figured out how to serve others. That is
race, gender, all that stuff didn't stop them. It still just kept serving.
And it doesn't matter what you go through. If you can figure out how to serve others and be in your purpose, you're gonna be. You might not be successful with $1 billion, but you're gonna be successful in your community. You're gonna be, and so, to me, success is if you're living in your purpose and doing what God's asked you to do, then you're a successful person. And I don't think God allows you to do it without serving others. And so, if you wake up every day, how am I going to serve you today? You're going to be happy.
Yeah, no scoreboard and serving.
Yeah.
Goals, dreams, those are different. That's not serving. But when you're serving, because we don't know how, when, or where, and that's the problem with people I've talked to. And problem's the wrong word. Their mind says, well, got to pay my rent. We all do.
Of course you do. And you can do that. And God wants you to.
Exactly. And abundance is okay too. The flip side, you serve and you start growing. It's a good thing. We're coming to the end here. What's one business tip? So you talk to so many great people that you could give the audience to help them.
I would say the biggest tip is you got to figure out who you are. And you say, well, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know why God put me on this planet. And I say, well, what do you love to do? What would you do if nobody paid you for it and you could do it all day long, every day? If you're not doing something along those lines, then you're fighting a current that is pushing against you every single day. And for some of us, we have to do that for a season. We if I have to be, if I'm to say I'm an entrepreneur and I'm going to start my business, I might have to continue to be a janitor that I am, for a couple of years. In order to create the skills. But what I don't go home and do is watch TV. I don't go home and watch somebody else, pretend to be somebody else, and then I put my life into them. I don't go to games and sports events and that kind of stuff, and I know more stats about the person who's playing in a game than I do about my own kids and my own life. And so if there's one thing I would say is first you got to learn yourself and then find yourself some rooms of people to start learning and be around. Part of it is you can say, I'm going to watch YouTube or I'm going to watch podcasts. Absolutely, do that. You can learn a lot. You can do it in the middle of the night. You can do it anytime. But God put us on this planet for relationships. And he moves people through relationship. And those relationships that you create and you're part of, and you're going to go have to ask somebody, I'm looking for a mentor. Can you spend some time with me? Because if you're sitting at home waiting for a mentor to show up and say, hey, I see you have some potential. I want to work with you. And that would be my biggest tip is go find out who you are and then go find some other people around you that can help you achieve the thing that you
Very
want.
well said. Simple to do, hard to enact. That's the whole problem with that. It's simple but you got to take action. It's the tough part.
Action is the key. Yeah. And you're going to fail. Know that you're going to fail. Know that you're not going to be good at whatever you start. And I know we're in this instant society where, we want everything to be instant. We want to, we want to know the person we're going to marry as soon as we start without ever even having to talk to anybody. It's not an instant world. You're going to have to do the work.
Yeah. Put time in. Well, let's end on a fun note. So I always like to do this fun question.
Okay.
So I've got a table at a restaurant for you reserved. It's a table of 4. You're sitting in one of the chairs. In the other 3 empty chairs, who would you invite, dead or alive? Why would you invite them? And what food would you order?
All right. So I think the first person, you said dead or alive. So I would invite Oh my gosh, I would probably write Jesus. You know, that
Yeah.
would be one person that I could learn from. When I think of history, I think I probably Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I'd probably invite him to my table. You know, I would even probably put Nelson Mandela in that too. You know, to know what it is to persevere, to serve, to be there, to run a country. And then the fourth person, oh my gosh, who would I would probably try to bring somebody that I would love to, you know, to mentor their way to their total success. Because I think out of those three, I could get, or, I could get as
Cool.
much out of it as I can. And I want to bring somebody along with me because I hate when I experience stuff and I can't share with anybody. Right. So I would find
So
a
powerful.
person to do that. What would I order? My favorite food is fried chicken, green beans, and mashed potatoes. So that would probably be, you know, if it was really good. I would love to say I'm gonna order something super healthy and something really good.
Yeah.
The issue is if I was sitting at that table with those people, there's no way I'd eat. It doesn't matter what I order because I want to
You'd
be
sit there, you'd be
listening,
talking, which is,
I'll eat another day. I could eat
yeah,
tomorrow.
exactly. Give it to me to go. I gotta go. We're gonna take it to go. What a power table. This is awesome. You know, you really brought some great points on business. I really appreciate you being a guest. This has been awesome. I know people listening going, I gotta connect with Brian. How can they connect with you?
Hey, the best way is just go to Brian E. Make sure you have that E in there, otherwise you'll be with the Ninja Turtle guy. But BrianEArnold.com. BrianEArnold.com has everything that I do, the things that I'm doing a goal setting workshop on December 31st this year from 10:30 to 1 o'clock Denver time. So it's East Coast, starts at 12:30. But yes, if you really are serious about moving forward, and you're serious about figuring out how do I hit the goals that I want to set for myself, I think it would be a great opportunity for you to be there. It's free, no cost. I'm not going to market to you. I just want to help you and serve you and help you start the year off right. And so many of us don't do it. We do these, New Year's resolutions. We put these unrealistic things. We try to say
Up on the wall. Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna have 1 million subscribers. Really? Well, how do you control that? You don't. So don't make that your goal because you can't control anybody.
That's a dream. Your goal is 10 a day.
Yeah.
Your dream is I want 1 million. Yeah. It's like my dream. I want doing business with servants' hearts and everybody's ears. That's my dream.
Yeah.
Do I hit it? I hope I do, but I'll work towards that with the everyday, like you said, the little steps, everyday steps. What's the 2 books again? Let's shout those out one more time.
So it is There Is No Tiger. There Is No Tiger, Overcoming Overthinking and Controlling Anxiety. And the second one is called The Decision Formula, 5 Easy Steps to Make Decisions That Will Change Your Life.
And they can find those on any bookstore.
Amazon, yeah. All those. Yeah, I just think it got up on Amazon on the Decision Formula. If not, by the time you watch this, it'll be up where you can be able to pre-order it because this comes out there at the beginning of the year.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks again. This has been a pleasure. And audience, again, your call to action, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And it's not what you think. I love subscribers, but if there's something that resonated with you, what Brian said today, here's the greatest gift. You share this link with them and go, hey, I just listened to Brian. I think you need to hear some of his tips. I think it'll help you. Well, we're close to Christmas, December 11th. Greatest Christmas gift exchange you can do as a servant's heart. It's a great way to really impact people's lives. And I said, explain who Brian is. This whole podcast explains Brian. I think it's a missing power of podcast, and I'm trying to get it out there. I think more and more hosts are seeing that. It is truly just the greatest tool that you can use to help others. Does it help Brian? Yeah, if they become a client, he works them, great. But that's not the goal. If me and Brian can make an impact with you, one person on this show, it's a game changer. It's all that matters. So, and also comment on the YouTube channel or this show as well on YouTube. If it's a critique or comment for Brian, I'll get the comment to Brian, or critique, let me know. The better I can make this, the better for you guys, the audience. With that being said, me and Brian want to thank you all so much for watching or listening to this podcast. We'll see you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.